Hello everyone, my name is Clantis and welcome to the clan. So without further ado, let's get into this video. But before we get into the video, please do me a big favor, guys, by smashing that like button, because you guys already know what the like button does to the videos as well as the channel. It brings us more honorable members of the clan. So without wasting much of your time, because I'm still at work, you guys, let's go to the Gauteng High Court in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial within a trial. So as you guys know, when the court opened today, we were going to see the defense calling its first witnesses of the three that they intended to call on their favor. Basically, that would have been Warrant Officer Makubo, General Lishabane, as well as Sibiya. Well, Baloyi this morning then decided, you know what, he's going to stand and oppose this application, and also demanded for good reasons as to why this case needs to be open. But Rota was a little bit annoyed. He was like, wait a minute, no. On Monday when we adjourned, I had said that this matter is going to be reopened so that the defense can call the three witnesses. And Baloyi tried to argue with the judge. The judge said, listen, I'm already bound by the decision that I made on Monday. The defense is going to call its first witness today. And of course, Baloyi said, okay, he wants to give his own motivational reasons as to why the court should not allow the reopening of the case. And then he started his argument. He went on and on. But the judge, well, he looked blank, more like, I'm annoyed by you. Honestly speaking, you should have been specific on Monday as to why, or if you were opposing why the defense should reopen its case and call these three witnesses. Then Baloyi kind of like realized that, wait a minute, I need to be tactful here. Let me just mention the fact that one of the witnesses that the defense is willing to call or intend to call is actually maybe. That's the word I picked up. He said maybe a state witness. And that's when Rata just cut off Baloyi and said, why this was not disclosed to me on Monday when I made that decision that one of the accused may be a witness of the state. And if he is a witness of the state, therefore the defense cannot have him under any circumstances because it's not allowed by the law. And then he reminded Mr. Mngomezulu of this rule. Mr. Mngomezulu admitted that indeed there is such a rule, but Mngomezulu tried to kind of like, I don't know, maybe try to bend the rules a little bit there and there, but Rata stood his ground and said, no, a witness that belongs to the state cannot be a witness for the defense either. But in my mind, I was still holding on might. But then again, I get it. And so this is when General Lishabane had to fall away from the defense witness list. However, though, Mr. Sibiya matter, I'm not quite sure why he was not called, because I don't think he is in the list of the state's witnesses. But anyways, maybe I did not hear that part, because Mr. Sibiya, who was not even a police officer in 2019 when Musa Sibiya was arrested, and yet he was present there. Which is very interesting and telling. Maybe that's the reason why Mr. Mngomezulu did not call him on the stand, because he thought, listen, Mr. Makubo already told the court when he did take the stand subsequently that Mr. Sibiya, the police officer now, was not a police officer at that time when Musa Sibiya was arrested. Already, that is a discrepancy on its own. How can a civilian be present and probably even make contributions to the arrest of a suspect? That was very telling. That was interesting. Then, of course, Mr. Mngomezulu had to relent and then call his first witness and only witness. That is Warrant Officer Makubo. All of us has been anticipating this witness because we believe this particular witness not only has the truth to tell, but he also has some cheese to grind with some of the people that he's going to mention in his testimony, being Colonel Gininda at the time, as well as Advocate Baloyi. So I was like, okay, go ahead, sir, let us hear. And he started dropping bombshell after bombshell after bombshell. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, now it makes perfect sense as to what exactly is happening. Let me tell you something about the clan. You guys are the smartest people on the planet. Yes, take it and run with it. Because all this time, the clan has been saying, no, something ain't right about this case. The people that were with Senzo Meyiwa on the 26th of October 2014, why aren't they accused number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, number 10, number 11, and 12 possibly? Why do we only have 5 men, and yet the eyewitnesses said there were 2 intruders, and then we heard all these different evidences that were tabled before the court that were contradicting with each other. Eyewitnesses say the gun was a revolver. Okay, they did not say a revolver because they said they don't know guns, but the gun had a wheel. And then they go and find a 9mm bullet head, the mess, DNA, the hat, you name it, all was a mess. Then come Officer Makubo and said, out of docket 636, came 375. Is it 375? 375. And it's the same crime scene, same murder, and the evidence is saying, no. The 5 men stand accused of killing Senzo Meyiwa. No, they're not it. They're not it. Of course, he did not expressly say that, but he says that 375 has different suspects altogether versus 363, which is currently what we are having in the North-Gauteng High Court. That was a bombshell for me. So the thing that kind of like confused me, just to go back a little bit about General Lishabane, from what I understand is that when the defense is going to call a witness, they first have to consult with the intended witness that is going to take the stand, right? And the witness will have to agree that indeed I am willing to be a witness on your case and testify on behalf, and testify in favor of the defense, and therefore they will receive what? A subpoena, I think, by the prosecutor. Apparently, Lishabane was present in court today, according to what I picked up from Mr. Mngomezulu. And then Advocate Baloyi said, no, the only person that is subpoenaed is Warrant Officer Makubo, not General Lishabane. So I think Mr. Lishabane was in court, but he was not subpoenaed to take the stand because he's already the witness of the state. Something tells me at some point that General Lishabane will actually not want to be a state witness anymore, because apparently he does have that right according to section 205 of the Criminal Procedure Act. If I'm incorrect, please correct me, that section. If it's 205 or something else, please let me know, because I think that's what I heard. He can actually invoke section 205 by not wanting to be the state witness anymore, which is going to be interesting in the main trial when it resumes. Because to me, it sounds like General Lishabane has some truths that he wanted to tell in favor of the defense. That is why he said, okay, cool, I'll be your witness. Without Mr. Baloyi, without Mr. Mngomezulu without Mr. Mngomezulu doing his due diligence by saying, okay, you are also the witness of the state. I don't know, maybe he was playing a strategy there, I don't know, but it did paint a picture to anybody that was listening and reading between the lines, because I read between the lines, and the lines said Mr. Lishabane wanted to say something in favor of the defense regarding this entire matter. Possibly, he also shares the same sentiments as Warrant Officer Makubo regarding 375. That the man that stand accused of killing Senzo Meyiwa are incorrect. The correct people are in 375. We don't know who they are, but we can always rub our 2 IQs together and assume that it is the people that were with Senzo Meyiwa on the 26th of October 2014. One of them pulled the trigger, whether by accident, intentionally, or whatever the case was. They are in 375. So it was quite interesting to hear that the other bombshell that Mr. Makuba dropped was the Minister of Police, Bheki Cele, having employed or deployed 40 investigators. You know the say in English, too many hands spoil the broth. There we go. That is why we are where we at today, because They messed up this case. Everybody seemed to have a different opinion, pulling north, others pulling south, others pulling this way, and others pulling that way. Subsequently, Bekele did fire all of those 40 investigators, and then he was left with 4, being Warrant Officer Makubo, Colonel Buthelezi, as well as Colonel Gininda at the time. I forgot what's the 4th one. And as they were busy investigating, at some point they did split as well, where Gininda was doing his own investigations, but under 636. And then Mukubo, as he was also investigating under 363, came 375. Because as they were busy gathering information, as they were busy gathering evidence, it showed that the people that are in 363 are not the people that killed Senzo Meyiwa, but the people that are responsible for the death of Senzo Meyiwa are in 375. Then you guys already know that there was, of course, this rift between Gininda and Makubo that is playing itself out in the media, where Mr. Makubo had to go hide because his life was in danger, and they tried to smear some false cases on him. The magistrate came and said none of these cases have sufficient evidence, and Mr. Makubo was reinstated at his job, and I'm not quite sure at this point his safety status, how it looks like, but it looks like he sounds well, and although he's a slow speaker, in Zulu we say uyanensa, which is nothing wrong about that, because there are people who are snensers. Even in my family, I think I got 2 or 3 people maybe kuloma that talk like this, and you think they are not serious when in fact that's who they are. Now, the other bombshell that Mr. Makuba dropped was that nobody was appointed head of investigator in the Senzo Meyiwa murder. I was like, say what? Because in court, we were told by Brigadier Gininda that he is the head investigator of the Senzo Meyiwa murder. Let me put it that way. He told the court that. Everybody knows that Gininda is the head investigator. Turns out, nobody was appointed the head investigator in this matter. Nobody. Because some had equal ranking. In fact, 2 colonels and then 2 warrant officers, I think, at the time. And so they were not coming to the same conclusions and decisions, as well as sharing the same sentiments with the evidence that was collected. Bombshell number 4 of 5 is the fact that after they have collected all this information, guess what they did? They went to the MPA to consult with them regarding what they found, so that the prosecutor can take this information, make arrest, and then start prosecuting. And that prosecutor was who? Oh, you guessed it right, Mr. Baloyi. Mr. Baloyi was consulted with 636 as well as 375. But Mr. Baloyi decides to go with 363 and then conceals 375. That is why Advocate Tefu opened a case of defeating the ends of justice against Advocate Baloyi as well as Gininda. It makes sense now. Because my question is, what about the NDPP, the National Directorate of Public Prosecution, was not part of the people that were that should be co-accused of Gininda and Baloyi, because they defeated the ends of justice deliberately. And Baloyi is busy prosecuting people that are in 363, and he did not incorporate 375. Why? Why is he concealing 375 for? To me, it sounds like a criminal act of defeating the ends of justice. So just as I was like, oh my goodness, what is happening? Then Warrant Officer Makubo then spoke or defined what a cold case is. He said a cold case is basically a case that has been closed and filed, not an ongoing investigation. That is not a cold case. Then I was like, yeah, I remember somewhere, I'm not quite sure where I was reading, that a cold case is not a case that is still being investigated. You cannot say a case is still is a cold case when it's still being investigated, because it's still hot, pretty much hot, up until they exhausted all leads, and none of these leads led to a possible arrest or suspect. That's when they close the case and then file it, and therefore it becomes a cold case. Advocate Baloyi tried to be smart around this definition to Mr. Makubo. Makubo's like, listen, it's not something that I made up myself. It's not something that I sucked out of my thumb. This is something that we were taught as police officers. So it's written down, it's there. So don't ask me. Then, of course, Advocate Baloyi took the stand to cross-examine Mr. Makubo, which I think it was a total waste of time, because Advocate Baloyi, he was obfuscating during his cross-examination. He knew that he didn't know what to ask Mr. Makubo. And you are like, sir, it's either you sit down because you do not have questions to ask this witness, or ask relevant questions around the confessions. Remember, the confessions are to be determined by this court if they were obtained legally or illegally. And there you have Mr. Makubo, and you are asking him irrelevant questions, and yet he stood up more times than he has ever stood up, I think, in any trial for that matter, and objected and sought clarity on relevance of the questions that Mr. Mgomezulu was putting to Mr. Makubo. It was quite interesting. Of course, at the end of the day, you look at Judge Rata's face, he looked annoyed. The man was anguished by something. I'm not quite sure what made him angry, but he was not chuffed with the state at all. So after Advocate Baloyi was done with cross-examination, he kind of was like, you know what, let me start with my heads of argument. He told the court that he's ready with his heads of argument. Then Mr. Mgomezulu stood up to say, listen, I thought that my heads of argument, they are ready, but I thought there would have been done some adjustments after the witnesses were done testifying and cross-examination has also concluded by the state. So he does have his heads of argument. However, they are not filed to the court, as well as copies disseminated to the state and the judge as well. So he asked the matter to stand down until he's able to have completed his photocopying of his heads of argument, filed it with the court, and then submitted copies to the state. But Baloyi was like, no, he can do that during a long adjournment. And then once again, Mr. Mgomezulu tried, but Advocate Baloyi was like, no, you can do that during a long adjournment. To the annoyance of Judge Rata, who just cut off Baloyi and said, we adjourn until 2 p.m. So basically, that's where we're at right now. We are going to be returning to the North Gauteng High Court at 2 p.m. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to continue because I'm going for a house viewing. Because I'm moving out of here, guys. I have to go elsewhere and start a brand new life. So I have a viewing later on during the day. Of course, by the time you watch this video, I would have long came back from the house of viewing. Other than that, guys, if you like this video, give it a like. If you didn't like the video, give it a like. Anyways, do subscribe to my YouTube channel, and don't forget to click the bell notification so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much to everybody that's super thanking the channel. I highly appreciate you guys so very much. Also, leave me a comment down below. Let me know, what did you think about what is transpiring in the North Gauteng High Court in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial? Who killed Senzo Meyiwa? 375 is the answer. So 375, of course, since now it's been tabled in the trial within a trial, definitely Judge Rata has no any other choice but to have 375 tabled in court, either by the defense or by the state. Maybe we'll start seeing some arrests happening on the people that were with Senzo Meyiwa on the 26th of October 2014. And then possibly there could be co-accused number 6, 7 to 12. We don't know. We'll see what the decisions is going to be. However, Advocate Baloyi did ask the court to strike off Mr. Makubo's testimony as being irrelevant. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that testimony was relevant and important to the defense. So please do also share this video far and wide. I'll see you guys next time with a new video. Goodbye.